Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the season 1 finale of the 20 Years and Counting podcast. Me and Max just went in a grid view. Stay with me as we go through some technical difficulties. As you can see here, I'm basically in Cancun, where pretty much every team is in the Big Sky Conference right now, because with Idaho's loss to Houston, number 15 seed Idaho's loss to Houston in March Madness, the Big Sky Conference men's basketball season officially over. Shout out to MSU women. They're still playing the NIT. But wasn't a very fun game if you were watching to cheer for even a close game. Idaho kept it close for a couple of minutes, but Houston took a 48-24 halftime lead. Only outscored them by 7 in the second half, but once you're up that big, you didn't really need to, and they win 78-47. Max, just what was your... I'm glad you got me behind you there. What was your initial reaction to Idaho's loss in March Madness, Houston's win, and just what were you thinking watching that game?
Yeah. Well, I had to get. This is my favorite photo of you, by the way. I really like this photo.
Yeah, it's a professional headshot.
Very professional. But I don't know. I think initial takeaway is Houston. It was pretty evident going in how much talent is on that team. But when you really watch it against like a mid-major, you understand the gap that Houston has on so many teams, not just mid-majors, but teams at their level. It was pretty. The one thing that I had kind of taken away going into the game was Kingston Flemings could not have a good game. He absolutely could not, and he had very efficient game, 8 for 12. I mean, he didn't score 20 points, but he didn't need to. He just played super well. He was, defensively, he did what he needed to do. They had so many guys who were just on it. I didn't even mention Chris Sinak Jr. in our initial podcast. He had 18 rebounds. I mean, he out-rebounded, it felt like he out-rebounded the whole Idaho team. I mean, obviously he didn't, but like that's what it felt like when you watch the game. Like Sinak just was grabbing boards, and there's just a lot of talent on the Houston roster. We knew that going in. We knew exactly what to expect from this team. I don't think there were any surprises that Houston pulled. They played a really well-rounded game. They didn't, like I said, Flemings didn't score 20 points. No scorer on Houston scored 20 points, but they didn't need to. They had 5 double-digit scorers, though, to point that out, and none of them scored 20 points, which just shows how deep that roster is. That's Flemings, that's Sharp, that's Tugler, that's Sinak, or not Sinak. He scored under. That was Mercy Miller, and then Milos Uzan as well. So like all these guys, and it's crazy to look like. Obviously, we watched the game, but like when you look at the box score after the fact, that they had 7 dudes score points, put points on the board. 5 of them scored double digits. 2 of them didn't, and Chris Sinak didn't even need to because he grabbed almost 20 rebounds. So basically, you have 6 dudes. 6 dudes. That's not a crazy amount of depth, but they didn't need to like go down the roster. There was no need for that. They didn't need to play Isaiah Harwell at all for any reason. He literally didn't do anything that game, which was honestly good to see. I wanted to see mostly the top 5 guys. And so, yeah, it was a good, just stupidly good showing for Houston. And then Idaho, it's a valiant effort. Like, what are you going to do when you're the Vandals? You're putting your heart into this game. And they did. They played probably about as well as I thought they were going to play, which is unfortunate that it was, a 30-point blowout. But that was the trajectory for them. Only one scorer in double digits, Colton Mitchell, who, to be fair to Colton Mitchell, 4 for 7, 3 for 6 from 3, not the worst game in the world to be against a team that good. I think that's honestly pretty, especially because he's not a big guard and he's getting completely out. The athleticism that is against him is insane, and he still puts up 14. So honestly, shout out to Colton Mitchell for putting up 14 in a tourney game. That is extremely hard. People don't realize how hard that is, especially when you're a mid-major and you're a mid-major guy who is undersized, at least in comparison to a lot of these high major teams. So really not much else there. Want to give Colton Mitchell his flowers for sure because he deserves it. But I mean, Idaho played as well as they could have. So I said it when we recorded initially, the pre-game, now post-game. They should be extremely happy they made it. Extremely happy they made it. The fact that they lost by 30 is no consequence to the season that they had, the run that they had in the tournament. This result is far more evident of their success than any sort of failure. So, still, huge congrats to the Idaho Vandals because, holy cow, what a great season for them. And it sucks that they had to run into a buzzsaw like the Houston Cougars because it could have been any team. I probably would have liked them against a couple others, but this is a team that might play in the NCAA final, honestly. So that's just the luck of the draw, unfortunately, for Idaho.
Yeah, I watched. Honestly, by the end of it, I kind of had turned on the other game and was falling asleep. But I watched the first half. But with Idaho, I think a big thing. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure our stream is still working. We got a bit of a problem there. Oh, okay, sounds good. I think we should still be good. It just probably isn't the smooth stream right now for people on YouTube, but talk slowly and they'll get the point. But yeah, Fleming's was really good, and I think the thing you watch Idaho play and they, we're gonna get into the difference between mid-major programs and also the high major programs now as we talk about the tournament as a whole. But we saw guys like Brickner be so much more athletic than some of the guys in the Big Sky. But watching that game, the talent difference just off the rip was just you could tell, right? It was just so different. Brickner just didn't have a very good game playing, and he's a super athletic guy because he was kind of finally on the playing with a lot of guys who were athletic as he was, which is tough. And Fleming's I don't think he missed a shot in the first half. I don't even know if he scored in the second half. I think he went 8 for 8, maybe went 6 for 6 in the first half. But him when he's coming in and every single shot he takes is contested. Feels like in the Big 12. Maybe not completely true, but he's always got a target on his back. When he just realistically is getting the less good defensive guys on him, it's gonna be a lot harder. So yeah, it was hard to watch, but I mean, Idaho did have a great season. They should be happy they're there. I think they're glad they didn't have to play a 16 seed, so it didn't get too unruly. What was the Florida game got out of hand against Prairie View? That could have been them, Yeah. So that's we'll take that. What were you gonna say?
The coach was the coach at halftime. He was like, "We need. What do you?" It was the lady was talking to the Prairie View A&M head coach. And he was like, "What do you guys need to slow them down? We need Jesus." It's there's just no that could have been Alex Pribble, and it was not. So thank God. But yeah, that was brutal. It could honestly, yeah, they could have been like that. And I also I was happy they didn't have to worry about that. But to be fair to Prairie View A&M too, they did have to win a ton of games to even because they were an 8th seed in the SWAC tournament, and then they won at 4 straight to get there. So getting to seeing I guess that's true. That's true. So I guess they're both in a similar trajectory. Idaho, but we talked about this too. Idaho's KenPom and their net ranking, they were really good in the KenPom offensive and defensive rating.
Teams with you're right.
We were looking at where their seeding. If they would have won maybe a couple more games, I feel their KenPom would have put them right with some of those 14 seeds, and they may have actually snuck up, which would have been the dream scenario. Obviously didn't happen, but I think they were ahead of Wright State. I want to say they were ahead of another 14 seed too. but it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, it's always tough because
I think
maybe
they
you
were
win a
ahead of
couple of games.
Kensaw, right? Does that sound right?
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yes, I think they're ahead of Kennesaw, and I mean, yes, we can check the Ken
Mm.
Palm and
And
look, but
they were near Troy too. It's changed a
yeah,
little,
they were
obviously now that tournament's gone on, but
right for sure.
I think
But even right now, they are one spot in Ken Palm ahead of Penn. They are 4 spots behind Troy and 5 spots behind Kennesaw State. So like they're not that far away from a lot of these teams. And a lot of people thought Troy were, gonna possibly upset Nebraska. Obviously, Nebraska's on a dream run, but like there are a lot of people who are really bought into the Troy hype. And I'm like, you look at the Ken, obviously, stats are stats, ratings are ratings. They don't predict anything. But when you see that gap is that close, you realize a lot of those schools, yeah, they're just a lot closer together than you realize initially. But Idaho really was probably a couple of results, a couple of decent stat games away from being up in that like 14 range, and it wouldn't have surprised me if they would have gotten a good draw like Montana did last year, um, despite maybe not having the record that a 14 seed might have. But again, that's the you look at Ken Palm, you look at the stats, and you see very clearly like, oh, they totally could have been up there if they would have had maybe a slightly better record and a couple of better stat games. But that's all horseshoes. So
yeah. And then I mean, it's not my favorite talking point to talk about because I think like every not maybe not national radio host, but everyone who covers media now in mid-major markets has kind of already talked about it a lot. But um, obviously a huge down year or just a huge future for mid-majors this year in the tournament with there really only being one mid-major upset. That was High Point. If you consider Gonzaga mid-major, but they still got upset. But pretty much every St. Louis beat Georgia. That was another High Point. Um, VCU beat North Carolina. Those two
that was a
teams
good.
playing pretty higher ones. And don't get me wrong, there were some games that were close. Like Siena almost did something pretty fun. Santa Clara and
Uh,
Kentucky, they kind of fumbled the bag there in that game. McNeese played pretty well against Vanderbilt. What else? Furman didn't get murdered by UConn. Kennesaw played pretty well against Gonzaga, especially in the first half. South Florida tried
yeah,
to come back against Louisville. Cal Baptist played well. And Utah State, I guess, won in the first round too. They were a really good team this year. So we saw some teams play pretty well, but just with the transfer portal and how teams are doing things nowadays in NIL, it seems like
mhm.
Power Five teams have a grasp on dominating college basketball, and I think it'll be that in the future until there's more like um agreements through NIL and stuff where you can actually sign guys for contracts and they actually have to stay. I don't know if you would have to do that out of high school to make majors good again. Um, or if like the Power Five teams form their own league. It's hard to say how it can be fixed and if it'll be fixed. Miami, Ohio did well too. But yeah, I don't know if you have too much thoughts on it, Max. It's kind of a sad thing to think about. It's definitely the future. I think to an extent, our podcast will be called 20 Years and Counting Plus for quite a while from where it stands right now. But also, you never know. They could finally get some rules in place with transfers, especially maybe that'll change some things. And then maybe it'll be a little more parity. But we'll see. I don't know. What do you think?
I I agree. It's definitely sad. It's tough. I mean, it's interesting to look back. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is to go back and look at like old Montana like NCAA bids and results and like other school. I guess not just Montana, sorry, but like all these Big Sky Conference teams. When I covered Montana, that was a fun thing to go look back and see all those historic teams. But now that obviously you and I are kind of in the mix of all these Big Sky Conference teams, it's fun to look back at all these old bids that these Big Sky teams had and how much parity, maybe not a significant amount of parity, but parity enough that they were competing. There's I mean, I think about that Montana team that almost beat UCLA at one point, and like you look at Idaho had a really great stretch for a while, and it's just sad that that is something we are leaning away from. You mentioned the contracts. I do still worry though, even with the contracts, because I feel like that might be more beneficial anyways for high majors, because it feels like that's one of those things where, like, if you're at Duke, you want to transfer out, you're probably going to transfer out to another high major. But if you have a contract, that's going to protect these high majors a little bit more from having these guys bouncing around from programs across the Power Four conferences. Um, I do worry about the mid majors still not having a lot of leverage there, just because they are smaller. Um, and that contract idea maybe not being as lucrative. Like if a kid wants to sign with like North Dakota State, I feel like North Dakota State maybe doesn't have the leverage to be like, oh, we are going to sign you for 4 years and you need to sign this. And I like, unless it's like a local kid, I do worry about that. But like if you're getting a JUCO kid, I mean, that guy's probably, and they're good enough to bump up to the D1. I mean, I feel like a lot of those JUCO guys that are really like high ceiling, they love to just like level up as much as they can. So it definitely, I think the mid majors really have a lot of questions. Like there's going to be a lot of questions after this. And I think that contract idea, the idea of these mid majors being able to hold on to players for long periods of time, it's going to be very interesting to see how much leverage they're going to have on the table if they are going to try and figure out a way to keep their teams remotely intact. And we still have, I mean, we still have coaches moving around. I mean, just after the tournament, I'm thinking about all these schools that have just lost their head coach. St. Mary's lost their head coach. USF just lost. Brian Hodgson's up to Providence. I guess Randy Barrett from St. Mary's is over to Arizona State. Jared Calhoun for Utah State is now at Cincinnati. Obviously, well, to be fair to Jared Calhoun, he is from Ohio, so I think he graduated from Cincinnati, so this is actually kind of like a good move for him. So he ends up going back home. So I know like a lot of people get really shitty about like coaches making moves. I will say I do vouch for the Jared Calhoun move because he's going back home, and so I think that's actually a really cool story for him. But anyways, like you have all these coaches from mid majors now, and even Mountain West, which Mountain West is kind of that like the highest level mid major kind of conference, really. Like that's like the peak right there. It's like that, and like, I mean, the WCC, I guess, because Gonzaga is kind of its own thing, and then everybody else is like kind of in that tier at this point. So unfortunately, I mean, WCC, but like that's kind of where we're at. So I think, yeah, it's sad. I think the contract thing is a good. I like what you bring up with that point about it maybe reeling it in. I am worried about mid majors leverage, the mid major like leverage and how lucrative it would be. But yeah, it's tough to predict. It's always tough to predict, and it just feels like there's never an answer, right? Like there's never something definitive. NCAA has all like they're still really ingrained in all these ticky tack things, and they're still like super strict on their broadcasting rights with the tournament with between reporters and stuff, and it's like you guys are leagues behind everybody else right now, and you need to figure out a way to reel in your league, and you haven't done anything. So unless you figure it out, then we're going to have this where even if tournament viewership might be supposedly up in the opening week, who cares? You're losing out on potential early interest, and now you might mortgage interest late in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight if you don't have some of those teams move up. I think the most exciting thing that I saw in the past couple of years was the St. Peter's run. That might be one of my favorite things. I think a lot of people will probably agree with that. So if you want that to still exist, NCAA, you guys need to figure it out. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on at the moment, but you are just you have just dumped your bag of marbles all over the floor and you refuse to clean it up. And mom's yelling and dad's yelling and they're calling the grandparents. You guys need to reel it in. So that's my take on that. The NCAA needs to really figure it out and bring back some parity to the NCAA tournament that we have not that we are losing every single year. And that's not just basketball, it's everything, but basketball especially because that's the season we're in. Um, and I think that will benefit this. It'll benefit the women's game too, which has no parity right now. And it would benefit every other sport. But right now, it's just they need to figure it out. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch, especially as obviously people who watch mid majors. Yes, we focus on one conference, but mid majors as in totality, that's however many universities across the country. That's thousands of millions of fans. And guess what? People who go to mid majors, I don't care if St. Peter's is in New Jersey. I want the little guy to win because I'm the little guy. If every little guy is rooting for that one little guy, that's millions of people. That's what matters. I it's not like there's investment there. So I don't know. This is probably more editorializing than anything, but I do feel like there is value there. So yeah, that was my rant on that.
Yeah, it does suck that it is that way. I think, though, it does make for, I think, some more parity at the mid-major level. Like, I think the real, like, lower ends of the mid-major, I think are all super, we saw that in quite a few tournaments. Like, there's a lot more upsets, I think, amongst mid-major teams, and it's hard to be, like, really, really better than your whole conference because all your good players always leave, which
That's
sucks, but it makes for fun games. I think, well, I think it took also the big power conferences time to figure out, like, hey, like, maybe we shouldn't just, like, Kentucky was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't, and it's Calipari specific, like, maybe we can't just only have good freshmen, like, maybe let's bring in some good transfers or keep guys around with NIL and stuff. And that way we'll, like, have a better, you know, roster. A guy like Walter Clayton Jr. last year in Florida, like, that was a mid-major guy, right? Like, you know,
yeah.
and he became like a really good player. And so teams aren't doing that, which means it's time for the mid-major conference, I think, to figure some things out because, and I think there's a few ways you can do that. I think you can get, it used to be like, oh, the reject guys would go to mid-major schools and stay to mid-major schools. Now they'll go up if they're better. So I think now you have to do that with JUCO guys and like NAI guys, which we saw the biggest guys, some teams the biggest could do, and find some success. Um, and then also like it really got to be better at capitalizing on drop downs is what I see from the Big Sky in particular. Some other conferences too, but I think that's a way like I think there's some guys. I mean, and some of them will go back up, but I think maybe like uh you get just work on getting guys who like it really is their last year playing for you and stuff like that is something that mid majors need to figure out how to do better. And I don't really have an answer for that, but just figure out how you change your roster thing. And if you are gonna be a feeder program for like those big Power Five conference programs, well then like really get the best you can out of those guys, like if you have a kid who's a true freshman who's really good, play him, right? Like put him in your starting lineup. You know what I mean? Because he might not be there in 3 years. Probably
Yeah.
won't be there in 3 years. So yeah, um, that's all I have to say about that. Really, but yeah, it'll be interesting. And I can't, as every year changes, I can't wait to see just who types of guys that in major conferences are going to start bringing in, where they're going to start getting guys from. Um, It'll be interesting, but it's tough. I want to talk about some guys who got to play in the tournament from the Big Sky Conference. One in particular, Dylan Darling, former Big Sky MVP.
Oh,
That was, a silver lining. He
yeah.
his 2 points of the game versus Kansas were a buzzer beater to beat Kansas for St. John's. The junior, he's only a junior from Spokane, Washington. You know who I think will probably transfer? Dylan Darling.
Bring him to Gonzaga. That'd be
Okay.
cool.
I think he's gonna
No,
transfer like a Big 12 school, but yeah. He just doesn't
no,
play very much for them.
yeah, it'll probably be lateral. It was cool though
He
listening
did
to Rick
start
Pitino talk.
14. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool to hear Rick Pitino talk about him though and talk about that shot. And you know, I think it makes you realize like how much trust like Dylan has accumulated in that locker room, which I think it just proves that like a lot of these guys really just need opportunity, and that's when they get that opportunity, they just they usually thrive. Obviously, yeah, Dylan Darling isn't having like the most crazy amazing season ever, but he's also, I mean, he hit a buzzer beater in the tournament. Doesn't matter if he had a bad game. He hit the biggest shot of the game. And he has a spot on a team that has legitimate chance of making it to the NCAA finals. So like it is cool. Even yes, I was trashing obviously a bit. I would like mid-major guys to they're
Yeah.
have guys stick around, but it's cool when guys like that who are talented, who deserve spots on those rosters, finally get that chance. It is still rewarding to see them succeed. It doesn't discount the move they made or the fact that they started somewhere and they should have. And I think maybe it would have been amazing if they stuck around. He got an opportunity, he took advantage of that opportunity, and it's paid off. So honestly, really really big congrats to him. And it's cool to see a former Big Sky guy get to be the one who has that moment. And I don't think Idaho State fans are probably going to be so unbelievably mad that he left. They're probably going to see that, they're going to be like, oh, that's a Bengal that just made that shot. So yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion. But
Yeah, well, I could agree, and I think it's not like kids' fault. I mean, these are college kids' fault that basketball in college is the way it is. It's like,
mhm,
a really money hungry sponsors. And well, I mean, because the reason they're allowed to do it now is because they finally let them because the way they're being treated was pretty much illegal by the NCAA by not letting them get paid. And the fact that Dylan
yeah,
Darling's gonna probably get a check because of that, no one like he
yeah,
deserves it. He's a kid from Spokane who did play. He played at Wazoo for 2 years, but then he played at Idaho State for a year. And was really good and got to light the Big Sky on fire, which is fun,
yeah,
and it's great that he gets to play in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16 now. So you can't hate him for it, and I'm happy for him, and he's exciting to follow. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Another guy who is from the Big Sky who played in the show on the Big Dance, Isaiah Kerr, former Montana Grizzly. There's probably a couple other guys if we go back, and that's just one we know because he is at Montana. He scored 11
Yeah.
against Arkansas, went 4 for 10 for
That
him.
was a
One hit a three,
brutal.
had a block. Yeah, they didn't. Arkansas beat them pretty bad. I like the Rainbow Warriors. They're pretty good, but yeah. He also scored 10 points in the Big West chip in CC Irvine. Went 4 for 7. He's been off the bench for him. He was supposed to score 8 points, went 2 for 5 against Fullerton. So three pretty good games to end the year for Isaiah Kerr, who's only a junior. Let me actually we should check his Twitter, see if he's in the transfer portal or not. We're gonna talk transfers here soon, but
Yeah,
hey,
I was trying to think of any guys off the top of my head who. Oh, what
I have
did
another
the
one.
brother from Sacramento State do anything in the 2 games that he played in
What's
Florida?
our guy? Alex Kavachkev, is that his name?
Yeah, let me look. Let me
He
look at
probably
the
got to play in that one game that the 7 foot guy played in. Here we go.
Kavach.
Uh,
Kavachkev had. Oh, he had 5 points against
oh,
Prairie
look
View
out!
A&M.
Let's
Two
go.
for four. He made a three.
He did not. He
Whoa.
did not play in the uh. He did not play in the SEC championship tournament at all.
Well, he
That
played
was
against
his.
Prairie View
That
A&M.
was only his second. His. That was his second field goal, second, third field goal of the season, going back to when he scored 3 points against St. Francis, Pennsylvania. Which is that the one that is going to cancel their basketball program?
They're the one they're dropping to D3, babe, is I'm pretty sure.
So
So
shout out former Portland State Viking Alex Kavachkev.
why did
He
Sacramento State?
he scored 5 points against Prairie View A&M. Um, Isaiah Kerr was not set his intent to hit the portal yet, so we don't know until now. Another one I thought of, Steel Venters. another former Big Sky MVP, right?
He was a former, but yeah.
From
That year
Ellensburg,
they got.
Washington. He didn't play in the tournament.
Is he still injured, or is he not playing?
He played this year.
I know he played this year, but I just didn't know if he was injured at the end of the year.
Let me look it up. I wonder
Steel
if
Venters.
there's no way he has more eligibility, right?
There's no way. Let's check. He's a grad student, so no, there's no shot. He redshirted. He
They
redshirted
interviewed him
due to
after the game.
Okay, but he redshirted back-to-back years, like for injury, not just not he after he left
Yeah.
Eastern. After he left Eastern, after he left Eastern, those 2 seasons after he was injured both seasons. So
It kind of
he
seems like
might
he got taken out of the rotation at the end of the year based on Twitter accounts reacting free Steel Venters.
free Steel Venters. Man, I did watch.
I think he
We
might
did
still
watch.
have they might give him another year. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, he has two injury years, so he might still have some
He has
eligibility.
played in 111 games, so it's like once they go over the 100 mark, I feel like you don't usually get any more basketball. But and he did start 10 games this year, so it's just kind of crazy he ended up out of the rotation.
Yeah.
He was injured he was on when they played Santa Clara in the chip, he was injured. So I don't know. Hard to say with him. Is there anyone else you can think of that was maybe played in the tournament?
I am
I have my
trying
doc
to.
of the top scorers from last year who all played, but none of them are on teams who made the tournament besides the guys I just talked about. We can check on some of them though. Brandon Walker, he was the guy who transferred to Mississippi State. You can try to find maybe some guys from like 2 years ago if there's anyone who comes to mind who was pretty good. Brandon Walker played only 1 minute before Mississippi State got knocked out. He is a senior. I don't think he has much eligibility left. Actually, because he's played 4 years at D1 schools. He's played 115 games. He was one. Also, I think we're going to talk about transfers and stuff. There's a tweet that came across my page about someone from the Sun Belt was on the third team all Sun Belt, and they were transferring, and it was like,
oh yeah,
someone was essentially like they were listing that and like how they're acting. Someone's like, I feel like if you're third team Sun Belt, that's exactly where you should be. You shouldn't be trying to transfer up or down. And I would agree with a lot of the Big Sky guys. Like if you're like honorable mention or third team Big Sky, like why are we leaving? You know?
Yeah, I was checking my Twitter to find that tweet, and then I should not have opened up my DMs to see what you sent me.
Don't do that. Yeah.
that was you've got to be kidding me.
I don't even know what I could have sent you. Another guy was Mason Williams. Transferred from Eastern Washington, Iowa State. He was with oh yeah, I forgot I sent you that. He's with Iowa State. He's injured, but they're still dancing. So credit to Mason Williams. He's a Big Sky guy who's getting at least be there for it, which isn't the worst place to be. Oh, Carson Tout, former NAU Lumberjack. Notre Dame got signed by the Indianapolis Colts. He's playing football. Might be the only Big Sky guy going pro this year. So credit to him. How do you think that's going to work out?
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. Julius Thomas, former Denver Bronco tight end, was basically just a basketball player, and then he played 1 year for the Portland State football team. Obviously, Carson Tout, he openly said, I read the article about him on The Athletic. He said he's never played football.
That seems like a problem.
That's going to be the one, but you know how often you were saying, like when we watched him play, the amount of times you said he plays like a football player, like it feels like the build he has, like will set up. And also, here's the thing too with ends, like yeah, the pass catching will have to like develop, but if
But
you
he's like a
can,
really good rebounder. That was this whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that's the thing is like I mean he can block. Like just put him like he doesn't need to be in like multiple tight end sets, trying to catch passes or anything. Like he can just be on the line for a bit. Just he's a big body. I mean, he's good length. Like I don't see why you wouldn't just like have him block for a bit, have him develop the pass catching, or and I think I feel like you look at that news and you're like, oh, this guy, he's gonna be like they're trying to make him like a prototypical like modern NFL tight end where you're like a Kittle or a Kelsey where you can catch passes all the time. But like, how many people just have like second, third tight ends that are just blockers for the most part? Like he probably can just block. He'd probably be pretty good at it because that's probably he just has to get the form right. I mean, obviously, yes, the NFL, it's a tough league, but like he has all of the athleticism in the world to do that. So like I just don't really see why he couldn't be successful in a role like that. I just think people are really they see that news and they're like, "Oh, they're trying to get like their next Dallas Clark." And I'm like, that's like such a terrible expectation for this kid. It's like this guy is going to be like this next like, you know, big athlete for them that can come into tight end and do all these things. And it's like, how about you just let the kid like do very simple things and he'll probably be pretty good at it because he has the ability. He clearly is a kid who's pretty disciplined and pretty solid at what he does in one sport. I think discipline is it's transitional, so I don't know. I think he'll be okay. I don't think I mean if he sticks on the roster or not, I don't know, but I think just from an athletic standpoint, I don't have any reason to believe why he couldn't be at least a blocking tight end for the most part. Um, but I do worry about obviously like the big glaring thing is like he's probably going to try to catch passes from, Daniel Jones and stuff. And it's going to be like a pretty big culture shock for him. So don't
If they
know.
let him go anywhere near Daniel Jones.
He's going to, well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair. He might be on the, you know, he might be on the scout team. I don't know who their oh my gosh. I don't know who their scout quarterback is, but whoever the Indianapolis Colts scout quarterback is, honestly, that might be great for him. They just like see this dude, he's like 6 foot, 8, like just all the way, just lob it. And then he's against scout team guys. So who knows? Maybe he gets a couple of easy catches just because of the height difference. So I don't know. We'll see,
Yeah.
but I like it.
It'll be interesting. They did it with Mo Alley Cox, who was a basketball player.
Oh,
He
yeah,
played.
that's true.
So yeah, we'll see.
That worked. I think he was a Pro Bowler like 1 year.
Yeah.
So,
Checking in on a few other Big Sky guys. Malik Moore. He
oh yeah.
he had 3 good performances to end his year. Um, and then a not great one. But he has 12 against Seton Hall, 12 against Villanova, both losses. They beat Marquette by 2 in the first round of the Big East tournament. He scored 18 points in that game. And then they lost to
Oh,
UConn by 25, and he went 1 for 7. So you can't win all. You can't win them all, And then a
yeah.
guy that we keep talking about transferred from Idaho to go play for BYU this year, Tyler Morris, I think is how you say Marus is how you say his name. He
Oh, yeah.
didn't play in the tournament because their game was kind of close, and he was sort of a bench warmer. He's only a junior. Wouldn't be shocked if he hits the portal, because he didn't play very much for BYU. BYU was just a little too. He was, I think, a pretty talented guy, and he's Bothell, Washington. I'm sure he's probably a member of the church, based on everything I know about him. Joining BYU.
Hmm.
He hasn't. Yeah, so I don't know if he's in the portal or not. I don't think he is so far. I haven't seen his Twitter. He hasn't tweeted, but so yeah. Just quick updates on some guys you get to play. So why don't we talk about the future of some of these teams? First things first, I'm going to quickly go through all of the guys who I have been keeping a list, I've seen on Twitter, have entered the portal. And I'll go on this other website and know where I can find some more once you start talking. But real quickly, Weber has 4 guys in the portal because Eric Duff left, so we're going to talk about that anyway.
Yeah.
Trevor Henning, Jace Whiting, Edwin Suarez Jr., and Malik Goma are all in the portal. Portland State had Keon Webb enter the portal. I think that was mid-season. And then Keon Kenzie Jr. is in the portal. Iowa State had both Evan Ott and Gus Etchison enter the portal. Etchison, I guess, has another year of eligibility. And Idaho so far has Jack Payne and Trayvon Blass in game, both in the portal. So those are the portal guys I know. I'm going to go check a website real quick to see. But we're going to go in reverse order from worst to best regular season standings. Talk about which. And this is, we're going as of guys who have not entered the portal versus have as leaving, and seniors that we think are leaving, the eligibility and how the portal works. Everything we say grain of salt, whether this guy's gone, this guy's not. So we'll say what we think might happen with those guys if they will portal. There's only a couple guaranteed 1 or 2 guaranteed guys who are, I would say, guaranteed coming back. But the coaches we can talk about a little more overall teams and more so like who they're losing and how it's replaced, because a lot of these teams are going to replace a lot of guys. We'll start though the NAU. They were absolute last in the Big Sky, and they lost their first tournament game. Good news, well, they lose Traviar Jackson, who is a kind of a journeyman guy, athletic guy, and they lost Oakland Fort, a leader. But they actually, yeah, rest in peace. I believe he's a senior. I think he played all 4 years there, though.
I think he's got it.
But today they actually posted, they do bring back Chris Coleman and Peterson, both true freshmen who played for them, and Coleman had some really good games. Also, maybe bring back, we don't know, Zach Davidson, who got injured and didn't play for the rest of the year, was play good. Carl Poome's a junior. Ryan Abelman's a junior, and so is Campisano. You'd guess maybe 1 or 2 of those guys would leave. With these lower tier teams, like sometimes it's like why would it be worth it to transfer away? And then rating their coach Bouchard, I would say he's on the warm seat a little bit. He had that really good year, and he has an NAU, which doesn't care that much. But they've had some really good years in the women's basketball side of things. So maybe in a couple years they'll think about getting rid of him. And it's not fun to be in the cellar anyway. So I wouldn't say warm seat for getting fired, but maybe like him just deciding he's done, going somewhere else. But what do you think? What's your outlook on NAU coming into the next year? Any thoughts?
I don't know. Like I really like Burkhart. I think he's done a lot with very little. So I honestly would be a little yes, they were bad this year, but I would honestly be a little surprised if he was closer to the hot seat than not. I do agree. Like, yes, you have a little fire there, but he's honestly been really impressive when he's needed to be. I think in terms of like the team he's got next year, it's like tough because yes, obviously the team wasn't that good, but when you bring people back or you have the ability to bring back a lot of your core, like that is significantly better than having to restart and do a bunch of stuff and implement things with new guys. Like that is a huge thing and a huge luxury that we are seeing less and less of. So obviously we don't know the decision for Davidson, Poom, Abelman, but especially if they bring back Davidson, Poom, and Abelman, I honestly really like. Davidson needs to be healthy. That's going to be big. That's a big reason why they were so bad. Was his unavailability, which obviously isn't his fault, but it sucks for him because he probably he easily would have been the best player on that team, just based off of the couple games that he did play.
Yeah, and it seemed like he might come back, but I guess he didn't. So maybe he'll get another year of eligibility for that. because he only played 2
Yeah, I would.
conference games, so we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, yeah, like yeah, there's a lot of question marks about eligibility, obviously, and then obviously if these guys are even going to come back, even if they have eligibility. But if they get Davidson back, that'd be huge. Poom, Abelman, and Campusano, I do think would be big. Mainly Poom and Abelman. Campusano, I do, not like the biggest guard in the world. So like you do, you know, you'd have to find a good spot for him. But I mean, they've done well with small guards. I mean, Oakland Fort's a great example. He obviously didn't play a ton this year, but when he had played in the past, he fit a decent role. So Campusano probably fills that Oakland Fort role pretty well. And um, Coleman and Peterson, obviously bringing back freshmen's big. You want to be retaining those guys as much as you can. So I honestly think NAU, I mean, I don't think they're going to be awesome next year, but I think if they are able to keep some of these guys, I think they're in a good position to be competing in that middle of the pack and maybe having like have a decent seeding enough to really, put themselves in the conversation where they can maybe win a game or two in the tournament next year. So like, honestly, like this year sucks, but I really think next year they have an identity start like kind of built if they're able to hold on to some of these guys. So I just hope Burkhart can land some of these guys, can keep them here. And then obviously just like you have good freshmen. I think this is a great offseason to find one or two like really impact transfers too. Because you have the freshmen, you have some guys who can stick around. Find one or two guys who, have really, tested their mettle and are ready to move up. Like you were mentioning earlier, like NAIA guys, JUCO guys that really want to fit in onto a roster. NAU's the perfect place. A team that has maybe low or middling expectations going into the season, a team where you could, if you're transferring up, you could be the one, maybe the guy, maybe the second guy, like close to that, because the competition's wide open. So I don't know. I really like their situation, and I think Burkhart always finds a way to do stuff, even when bad seasons happen. So I'm optimistic about next year for NAU. They just need to keep some of these dudes, even if Davidson doesn't have any eligibility. Keep Poom and Abelman at least. That will be huge for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a good spot to be in. Is like it's not. I think it's maybe sometimes better to be like, oh, we have our guy who's coming back, who's super good. Um, that's a nice
Mhm.
spot to be in. But second to that, being like, hey, we can bring in a guy who can be the guy here. Well, that's a pretty
Mhm.
good pitch, and a lot of guys like to see that from NAU.
Mhm.
Because they really didn't. That was, I think, their big problem last year. Because they just didn't have a consistent leading scorer all the time. They didn't have a guy they could go to. Davidson led them
No.
in scoring, but points per game, in points per game. But Ryan Abelman was their leading scorer, points overall. Carl Poom and Chris Coleman, and I guess Isaiah Shaw's. I didn't even add him in the list. He's a
Mhm.
redshirt junior too, so he could come back. Trevor Jackson's gone. Arnie Osajink is another guy who scored more than I guess I remember. And he's a junior too. So yeah, they're young, and if they keep those guys around, they will. And I know some of those guys like Abelman and stuff have stayed at NAU, and I can't imagine there's a lot of other mid-major programs that want you if you were an okay player on a Abelman could probably end up somewhere, and Poom with his size could maybe end up somewhere, but you're not going to end up on a good program where you're going to play, I think. So yeah, they are in a good spot, I think, to bring back some guys for sure. NAU is okay. Moving on, Idaho State. They maybe bring back Bond, their freshman, who came on well at the end of the year. Hard to say. But they definitely Evan Otten, as I said, in the portal. Gus etches as another year. Guerra graduates. Hollenbeck, I think, should be out of eligibility. Van de Grund
Yeah.
is also eligibility. And I think that kind of puts Coach Looney in an interesting spot. He is kind of, I think he's been there for a couple of years now and just hasn't really been able to get the team good. and hasn't.
Yeah.
Like Burkar has that run they went on at least, and he's made the finals. Looney's just had some tough years, and he's definitely had the
Mhm.
talent. He's brought in some talent, so it'll be interesting to see who he brings in this year. I don't think he's gonna get
Yeah.
fired, obviously, but I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about Idaho State? They don't have a great outlook, and they have. If I mean, it's going to be a pretty tough recruiting disadvantage compared to a lot in all sports, just based on their kind
Yeah.
of budget. So I feel for them, especially after they win a bunch of games. They pretty much, I guess, let's see, Keel Martin. He's a sophomore. Let's go to scoring points. He was their fourth leading scorer. So if he comes back, and Lachlan Brewer, he's a sophomore. He's the Australian guy. I think I
Right.
just saw
Yep.
he signed to go somewhere though. I think he's going to play professionally too. Maybe I could be wrong about
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, with those like a lot of those, maybe not like the foreign guys, but like Australian players. But we saw with Josh Bannon a couple of years ago. Those guys usually have a good connection to the professional pipeline, so it's always tough to keep them around.
Oh, never. Oh, yeah. Lachlan Brewer is gonna go play back, and he's gonna go join the Australian Football League. He's gonna go play
What?
football. He's doing the Carson Talbot Australian. So anyway, that
Oh.
means
Oh, I did see that actually. That I
yeah.
did
So
see.
only like two of their top eight scorers might return, and that's if Bond and Martin don't hit the portal. Martin, I guess, was more of an underrated guy, and the big guy 6'5" guard from Prague. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh.
so I don't know. Idaho State feels like they, as of right now, and we'll see. I saw they actually recruited a guy from NAIA College from Montana. They sent him an offer. I think he's a good
Mhm.
player, but I think they might be in maybe the worst spot of any Big Sky team, and a lot of them are going to be in bad spots. But they just really don't bring any. Like last year, they were in a much better spot because Otten came back. This year seems
Yeah.
like not good. We'll see where Gus Etchison lands. I'm excited for him though.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think they're probably in. Well, I mean, other than Weaver, but Weaver's a tough situation because they're obviously they don't have a head coach right now. So for teams that have a head coach right now, they're probably in the toughest spot. Um, I mean, yeah, you lose your star freshman, you lose Gus Etchison, who obviously maybe you probably didn't get the most out of, not because of. I feel like that might be more of a coaching thing and Gus, because clearly Gus played up when he needed to, at least towards the end of the season. But I feel like I don't know, like it's tough because I honestly like I really liked their roster this year. I mentioned I really liked Guerra beginning of the year. I'm obviously a big Connor Hollenbeck fan, not just because he's a Rapid City guy, but Connor Hollenbeck is good, like good
Yeah.
size, like for the Big Sky, and like plays really. I think he can be a bit of a matchup nightmare sometimes if he's hot on one night. But and then Manigran, who we talked about quite a bit this year. I mean, he played his ass off a lot of the time and was really, really phenomenal. Was kind of like their sixth man, honestly, for the most part of the year. But it's Looney's in a tough spot. The one bright side is he clearly can bring in transfers. Like he is a guy who
Mm-hmm.
Hollenbeck was a transfer. Etchison was a transfer up. Darling when he was a transfer. He if he has a Vandegren was a transfer, right? I'm pretty sure. All these guys who are impact players were transfers for the most part, other than like Otten was the big one, who was like actually like a friend, like a guy they had. But that's really the only way I see this team really doing well is if he has just like a killer transfer class, which I believe he can do. But in the Big Sky, it's really tough. He had a lot of good transfers and they didn't play very well. So you really have to find it, but I definitely think the seed is getting hotter for him for sure. I'd be a little worried, but I do think Looney. is really in touch with the transfer portal. I think he's shown that. So I feel like if you're gonna rely on him for anything, do that. Rely on him to bring in dudes who can contribute immediately from the transfer portal.
Yeah. Otten is a guy that I do have an eye on as like interested to see where he ends up because he's officially in the portal and he's big and he's fun on defense. So if maybe the team, he could be. He is the kind of guy who's like could be really fun on the right team if they use him correctly. But offensively, he's not much of an asset. Oh, let's get the Idaho Vandals, who they didn't do great as good in the regular season, but they are the returning champs in the tournament. So they do, I think they do can't these are all can keep guys who haven't done anything yet in the portal. Christian Gonzalez, who played only one game for him but scored 18 points. He could come back. Colton Mitchell could come back. I think should come back based on his size. Rasmussen
Mhm.
could. I don't know if he will. Keep an eye on
That's a
him.
tough one.
Joba, I think
Yeah.
could and probably will come back. Seems like he likes it. Off the bench, big man. But they've
He'll
officially
probably get
lost.
more.
What were we gonna say?
He'll probably get more minutes next year. Honestly,
It
I think he
yeah.
has. I think this is a good spot where if he sticks around, his role will probably increase.
They do lose Jack Payne, who their
Yeah.
sixth leading scorer by points this year. He started 22 games this year. It'd be interesting to see where he lands. He started at Colorado State. I don't think he'll go up. I just don't. He's got good size, but he's a good shooter, I guess. Um, Blasting game entered the portal, as I said. Another guy who's interesting, and he's good defensive player. That's a guy I could
Mhm.
see maybe going in conference. I hope he ends up at like it's somewhere around the Big Sky or near like at school they play because I liked watching him play. He's fun. Um,
Yeah.
Graduating, Brody Roberry graduating. Biko, I think is a senior, but he played community college or something somewhere maybe I don't know. So he maybe will get another year.
Yeah.
Brickner is a senior and was only D1. Coach Pribble, I'll talk about it overall, but I think he's going to get some looks at some other jobs because they did do a good job this year, but they weren't as good in the Big Sky Conference, so probably won't get any good offers of schools you
Yeah.
want to like go to that aren't better situations than Idaho. So yeah, something to keep an
Mhm.
eye on. So there's something to like if Mitchell stays around and Rasmussen stays around, they could be favorites next year, but if not, let me check out Mika's profile as you. What do you think about the Vandals?
I still think they're in a good. Again, that's obviously contingent on who they keep, but um, yeah, it's dependent on who they keep. But I mean, if they keep Mitchell, if they keep Rasmussen, if Gonzalez, I would assume Gonzalez sticks around because he did have the injury year. I mean, he has a chance to be their guy next year again. So like, that's big for them. And when you are already losing guys like Biko and Brickner, I feel like Gonzalez has a very clear role there. So yeah, they do have to. I think losing Payne sucks. I do honestly think like he would have probably had an elevated role. Blasting game would have had an elevated role this next season. But I think of their current transfer situation, not the worst. I think really the thing that sucks most is they losing Biko and losing Brickner
Yeah,
and
just
losing
real,
Robery is a tough.
real quick. Biko, by my count, has played 4 years of college basketball, but one of them was in Division Two, so he could get another year.
Okay,
But
so if they
yeah,
get Biko, that's big. That's
but
one thing they won't have to
he
worry
would
about.
become like I guess yeah, he would become like a 4 for 4, a Wendy's 4 for 4 guy if he transfers because he would have been at 4 schools in 4 years. He
Yeah,
did get injured at one of those schools, and before that, he played 2 years at Western Nebraska. He played community college and Division Two. I feel like he has to have another year in him if he wants it. So, move
yeah.
Biko to the maybe returns list. I'll have to look. He
But
liked
if
a few
I
of my
mean,
tweets during the tournament, so I'll have to look him up. But yeah, I think you're right though. Those guys, they have, I think maybe out of most every school except for Montana the highest potential returner ceiling. Like, it's fun to look at teams, but like, if these guys come back, how good will they be? I mean, Dylan Darling almost came back last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're exciting. You get a healthy Gonzalez next year. You might be, if Biko does have eligibility, you get to keep your top two guards. If Rasmussen comes, oh gosh, if Rasmussen comes back, I would. Idaho's going to get a lot of preseason hype. They are going to have to. Pribble's going to have a field day. Like he is going to have to really kill in the offseason. He's going to have to offer some stuff because Rasmussen. I don't know if the rest of these guys I'm really like think are going to get a ton of crazy offers. I do think Rasmussen's the number one in terms of if he leaves, he's probably going to move up. Like he might, even if it's just to like Mountain West, like I could see him going to like a Boise State and fitting in there or moving up into one of those schools. And that would be a good move up for him. But if he sticks around, I think that, well, one, if he sticks around and all these guys really stay and Biko has the eligibility, I mean, you look at I mean, you look at them getting preseason Big Sky winners, preseason Big Sky 2, like they're up there in the top 3, I think. And I think it's kind of a prove it year for Pribble, where he really next year could be the year where he gets all of the big job offers. But he's going to have to keep his guys.
I'd agree with
If he
that.
keeps his guys, they go into next year, they look like the team, the team's fully formed. He gets a couple of good transfers like he's done in the past. Get one really good freshman like he's had to kind of fill in. Like that's that's kind of the next year I feel like is the Pribble moving up year, but he has to have a really good offseason. And I think that mostly relies on keeping his guys, which I think he can do. I think he's got trust. I think obviously even in the NIL, I still feel like he has the ability to hold on to some of these dudes. And honestly, for Jackson Rasmussen, I think his stock is still it's high. It could be higher. I do think next year can still be a year where like he gets a Big Sky All Conference first team and he does make an even bigger leap and then he can get those bigger offers. So maybe he plays it smart. He sticks around for another year and then he makes the jump. So I honestly really like Idaho's trajectory this year, and I trust Pribble to keep his guys. Even in the NIL era, there's a lot of intrigue there for me. So I like Idaho. They have a chance to be preseason 1, preseason 2, preseason 3 if they keep their guys. But we'll have to see. That's going to be the question, and we'll keep
Yeah,
track of that. We'll
we'll
track of
see.
that for the next couple weeks.
Rasmussen did grow up in Idaho, but he did play, I think, his senior year. Yeah, he played his senior year in Utah, so I bet you he was definitely looked at by, like, some Utah State and, company down there, maybe University of Utah even. Never know.
He's
So yeah, Idaho, yeah, you said it best. Like, a lot of interesting stuff going on there. Um, okay, next school. Weber. So, as I said, Eric Duff decided to leave. I saw a thing
Yeah.
the other day, actually. We're going on a quick little sidetrack, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Coach salaries in the Big Sky. Can you guess who gets paid the most in the Big Sky Conference this last year?
I saw the same tweet, so I feel this is not gonna. But
It's Mike Bibby.
it's Mike Bibby.
By
He gets paid like double the
Yeah, by
next
like
head coach
300.
too.
He gets 500K. DeCure deservedly second. Logie's deservedly third, I would say. Burkhardt fourth. He's been there for a while. Monson fifth. Hasn't, but he's been good. Pribble sixth. Like, he deserves that. Smiley at 185. We're gonna get to Noco. Smiley's a guy I don't think is gonna stick around the Big Sky much longer. And he should take the first train out of town if he can. Coburn at Portland State's third worst. He's new-ish though, but another guy, we're gonna get to him. Delft was second worst. Which maybe make wouldn't blame him too much if you know, is getting the worst and he had a good team. Looney's the worst at Idaho State, and I said it like that's no. tough spot to be in. So I don't think he'll get fired anytime soon. But yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
Weber Duff left. I don't think they've hired a new coach yet. I haven't seen anything.
No,
I'll check real quick or
no.
say this.
We can we
They
can always check
yeah,
Weber
they
HQ.
keep T-John Sane. Well, could keep T-John Sane. I
Yeah.
would be pretty shocked if he seems like maybe he's waiting to see what this next coach is like. I would be shocked if they keep T-John Sane. Seems like he is a really talented guard. He could go somewhere else. Viami Vartiainen, could also stay if he
The
wants to.
finisher.
Yeah, the finisher and Grayson, Ardavis Grayson. But as I said, they have the most guys in the portal that we know of right now. They lose Henning Whiting as far as junior, Goma, and then Nigel Burris graduates. So they, besides maybe Idaho State, might be in the worst situation just based on the portal exodus. But if they get a good coach in who keeps saying, and just the historical prowess, I think puts them above Idaho State. Um,
Yeah.
any thoughts on the Wildcats?
Yeah, they're yeah, I mean, yeah, they are technically in the worst spot, I would say, but
And
I agree,
Eric
like they
Duff's going to be an executive now for anyone who's not aware of what's going on.
yeah. Yeah, so that's the big thing for me is it's like they are yes, they are technically in the worst spot, but it's like it is one of those things where um it is one of those things where they do have the Weber State branding. That's always going to help. Um,
And Damian
you know,
Lillard is there, I guess, technically. I don't know how easy that is to be when you're a full-time NBA player. I guess Duff is going to work with him. Those two, I'm sure, have a relationship.
full time NBA player. He's
Okay, shut up. He'll
I
be back
don't that
soon.
this is literally not to be rude, but like he's not played. Like he's
That's
probably fine. It's probably
that's fair.
fine.
That's you know what? That's fair. I'll give you that.
He's enjoying the and listen, he should enjoy the bench. Portland doing
Yeah,
their thing. All the young guys. Damian just focus on the Weber State stuff. Hell, you know what?
bring some.
Damian Lillard. I heard that Weber State has a head coach opening, and you haven't played basketball all year. You know what would be great? Bring him, Damian Lillard. You're going to hear it. Damian Lillard, Weber State head coach next year. That's the prediction. But no, I think they're still like it sucks. Yeah, they lose a lot of guys. Like, like I don't know, like Suarez Jr. definitely is a big loss. Goma's a big loss. Burris a big. The Malik Goma, I think honestly of all those guys, the Goma was probably the one I was most sad about in terms of like I'm like he definitely he was solid this year. He did his role really well, but I think he would have had such an elevated role next year. Sane, this is going to be a tough one because yeah, Sane, Viami, Grayson. I mean, Sane and Viami are kind of the two big ones you really want to keep, obviously, but I'm a little worried about that. It's really going to depend on that coach, but Weber State's going to need to do a good job. I mean, they used to be top of the Big Sky or almost top of the Big Sky every year. They're fighting, and they've just fallen off a bit. So I think, I mean, they're gonna need Damien to show up to Ogden and be in those meetings with those with those freshmen and those transfers because I don't know what happened to them, but they just have not been able. Well, I mean, to be fair, I guess Dylan Jones. They had Dylan Jones fairly recently, but like they need that again. They need that spark again, and they haven't had in a couple of years. So, yeah, not a big fan of their situation right now. And even with Duft, I wasn't a big fan of their situation. Like I liked them a lot throughout the year. I was a pretty big Wildcat fan, but I felt like there was some like I do feel like there were some points where I wanted to see more, and I do think that there was some potential of that team had potential that was maybe left on the table. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm getting a good laugh because I'm on their online roster and their coaching staff, and you go support staff, and the first photo is Damian Lillard, general manager. His photo is clearly from like what looks like probably an Adidas ad. and his title is general manager, but there's no information available for his bio. I found it hard to believe there's no information available on Damian Lillard. I think
You
we know
could
a couple
probably
things.
he could probably just copy whatever the Trailblazers have on his bio for him, and then just put it.
Like,
And
or where
nobody would bat.
he definitely has like a historical player page that they could use some stuff for. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
It's almost like he's the greatest Weber State athlete of all time, or arguably the greatest. I mean, I'd have to look back,
They had
but I
we did
mean,
this. Remember, they had like an Olympian or something. But that's
they
it.
did have an Olympian,
Has to be.
which totally fair. You have an Olympian, that's up there. But when we're looking, if you were looking at just straight name value, Damian Lillard has to be the most prominent in terms of just like strictly name value. Not to say that even if the Olympian probably has more of a more like prominent contribution, I guess. Because I mean,
Yeah.
if you ask me, I feel like an Olympic gold medal is the highest, the greatest thing you can achieve as an athlete, probably, right? Like, I mean, maybe that's subjective, but I feel like it's bigger than an NBA championship or anything. Like, if you win a gold medal, it's like you're a champion of the world. You're not as a champion of whatever league you're in. Um, so sorry, Damian Lillard, don't want to
You have beef. All I
trash.
hear is you have beef with Damian Lillard. That's fine, Max. You're allowed to.
I don't have a. I watched Damian Lillard score like 30 on the Boston Celtics live.
That's
That
why you
guy
don't like
did
him.
not miss.
That's why you don't like him.
Well, but I mean, it's impressive. It's still impressive. Like,
Yeah,
I
I'm
have a
not
lot
saying
of.
you're saying he's untalented. It just seems like there's some animosity between you and Damian Lillard.
I have no animosity towards Damian. I think Damian Lillard is one of the most dynamic NBA players in NBA history. He is ice running through his veins, but I do think that winning an Olympic gold medal is probably the pinnacle of any career. And if you aren't an Olympic gold, wait,
He won an Olympic
there's
gold
because
medal.
he did win. So then it doesn't. Then why are we even having this conversation? Damian Lillard is
You
probably
just seem mad that he's there. You just seem mad he's not playing and he should be their general manager or something.
no. He should be their head coach.
Oh
He
right,
should
yeah. Oh,
Dame Dollar should be their head coach.
uh,
He's not. He's not playing. I think this is the perfect situation for him.
okay.
If I'm Damian Lillard, I could make 10 times less money to coach a team that finished what, 8th in the Big Sky? Or no, 6th in the Big Sky. So that's pretty good. Actually, I wouldn't even have to get paid. If I'm Damian Lillard, I would do it for free. I would give money to Ogden. I'd be
I
like,
think he
I will
probably
give
does.
money. He probably, yeah, actually, that's a good point. He's probably got a, I don't know. This is always value speculation for anyone who knows donor numbers, but Damian Lillard's got to have a couple 100,000 something and into the Weber State basketball program. But I guess actually, I don't know how that works if you're the
Yeah,
GM.
and
Can you just like put money
these
in?
days I don't know, but also like he's probably not. But I know there's some donors who these days, especially at a smaller school, would be afraid to put too much money into their program. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
Weber saying included in this there's guys who are in the transfer portal or might be a lot of them are Pacific Northwest guys. Those guys could be
Mhm.
some. I guess we never really recapped how a lot of the in-conference transfers went this last year. There aren't too many like Davidson, Denker, and there's a couple other ones who Burris who like transferred in conference at times, how they did, but there's a couple guys at Weber that could end up in that category. Okay. Moving on to Montana, who I think, besides Idaho, has the highest floor or the ceiling for if they keep their guys around.
Yeah.
Is Montana, and that's because mainly 100% because of Money Williams. He and Portland State I'm going to add to here in a second, but I'll give my here later on. But I'll give my spiel on them. Money Williams is a guy who could come back. and hasn't hit the portal yet. And last year also could have hit the portal but didn't. Well, we'll see. They also could bring back Brooklyn Hicks, Tyler Thompson, Tyler Isaac, Grant Kepley, Courtney Anderson, and Kenyon Aguino. They definitely lose Trey Taylor and Tayshaun Sawyer, though. I think Taylor's out of eligibility.
He was a senior. Or yes, he had a senior night with Tayshaun and Trey were both the only
Which
two seniors on that
usually is
team
a
from
good
that.
indicator, but not always.
Exactly.
Coach DeCure, I don't think is going anywhere, and I don't think he's getting fired ever. So that said about that. Yeah, I mean the Grizz offseason, I think it's really going to come down to if Money Williams stays or not. If he leaves, I don't think they're cooked. Like I think they can bring in some really good talent, and honestly, I would say that has maybe kept them. And last year was different because they had some guys lose some eligibility suits. And Kai Johnson, Joe Pridgeon, and lose them late, a lot later than they thought they would. And a little later in the portal season. And because of that, I think they had some problems recruiting guys. And I think if money's there, it comes back to the thing where they do have a guy who's going to be their leading scorer if he comes back, and it's hard to recruit guys as role players around him. But he's really good, so you don't need that much this year. Obviously, they need more than they got, I think. But if you bring some of those guys back to a year in good shape, Montana feels to me, especially if they bring money back, one of the best teams in good shape, preseason favorites, I would say. If they bring money back. Yeah. And if they don't, but bring some of those other guys back, I still feel pretty good about him because I believe in Travis Tier's ability to get a dude in there.
Yeah, he's done it before. I think there was this really weird era, right when the transfer portal started to really open up, where he didn't quite have a grasp on it. He was getting guys that I think were just a little off the target. But I think he's figured out. I mean, he's always been able to recruit good freshmen. His connection to the Bay Area and Oakland and that kind of basketball hotbed is absolutely. I mean, it's one of the best recruiting trails in the Big Sky, and that's. I mean, obviously, you and I have covered Montana, so we see it a lot better than a lot of these other teams. But I mean, there are coaches. You look at coaches, and you look at their paths and their different recruiting trails, and one of the best is DeCure's to that part of California, which if it's just it's evident that it's evident. And sorry, I just watched Wichita State lose in the NIT quarterfinal. I'm going to close that.
How much they lose by?
By 4 to Tulsa. So brutal. Okay, now I'm locked back in. We're back. We're locked back.
Speaking of the breaking news happened on the podcast, Hubert Davis just got let go by North Carolina, so maybe he could come to Weber State.
Hey, listen, that'd be great. They'd be my preseason favorite, probably.
Yeah, you think he's a good coach?
I mean, probably for Weber State, yeah. I mean, maybe if you're UNC, not. But anyways, we're off two different. Okay, back on the Montana. But yeah, sorry. The recruiting trail that Travis Tier has in the Oakland, that Bay Area, that part of California is really strong, and it's evident because Money Williams is from that area and he's been a star. He has done that with so many other guys, like Saeed Pridgeon, and pretty sure Aguine is from that area too. All these former Montana guys are.
Will Cherry for sure is.
Will Cherry, all these former Montana guys that were really big stars, scoring stars especially, they've been from that area, that Oakland area. So that's a big plus for him. But yeah, honestly, I agree. Yeah, it's money. It's kind of money right now. I mean, you put every single thing you can into getting him back. One of the things that you mentioned that is a great point is the loss of Pridgeon and Johnson late in the portal season. I do think it sucks doubly because they did lose because Betts and Courtney Anderson, both those guys were injured all year. And when you lose out on Anderson, who is a Colorado guy, Colorado transfer down, and then you lose out Betts, who's a Minnesota transfer down, guys who probably we're going to be like immediate contributors. In theory, we're going to be immediate contributors, and they didn't play all year. That not only with the Pritchett and Johnson loss, and then you have guys who almost can come in as like backups, as like these big portal grabs, and they don't play all year because of injury. It's just like the fact that Montana made the championship game with amount of um, that amount of, I mean, bad luck. Frankly, it's still impressive. But yeah, I mean, you focus on money. You really hope you keep guys like Thompson. I think Tyler Thompson's gonna have a great year next year if he sticks around. He'll be probably this. He, in my opinion, is probably their second option at this point. Aguino has a ton of upside. They're definitely gonna be up there. I wouldn't be shocked if they're preseason one, especially if they keep money. But yeah, it's really money or nothing for me. Like even if they lose some guys like Hicks and stuff, like or Kepley or any of those guys, if they lose them, I still feel like DeCure will bring some guys in to fill the holes, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Money's gonna be getting a lot of money thrown at him. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, he played, minutes per game. He averaged like 4 more than the nearest guy, which was Sawyer, who's also a senior. But then, like, other than that, he averaged 9 more minutes a game than like second most Brooklyn Hicks, which is, or I guess there's a couple guys who were close to him. Thompson was at 29, but like he averaged the most minutes per game. Um, he was ahead of everyone else in field goals attempted by nearly 200, 180. Just crazy numbers there. So yeah, he'd be hard to replace. It'll be interesting to see some of the guys, and I'd like to think a lot of those guys will stay in Missoula. Some of them might, and that'll be just how the basketball works now. And I think they can bring in some good guys. But if they don't leave, then you can't really bring in any transfers. I think it'll be interesting that guys like Chase Henderson and Amari Jenkins. But this is something for people who are really, really into like me, who've watched pretty went to a lot of Grizz basketball games in UMax. I did see Amari Jenkins in Missoula the other day. Actually, he opened. He was with his. I don't want to sound weird, but it's pretty. I've been to enough Grizz games to recognize all the guys that I see him around in Missoula, and it's a small town. You see him. He opened the door for his girlfriend. Let her in the car. I hope it's his girlfriend. Let her in the car. Nice guy,
Hey,
gentleman.
notorious good guy Amari
Yeah,
Jenkins, and I knew it. Amari Jenkins. Okay, I don't listen. Amari, I don't know if you listen to this podcast,
would
but
be
every
shocked.
time I watch a Montana game, I am begging that they put you in because every time you're in warmups doing like windmill dunks, and I'm like, get him in for one dunk, please. I want to see him dunk in game, like so badly. Like he is built to just yam on somebody. I've seen, well, he did yam on somebody like last year that was in, I forget what game it was, but they were playing somebody and he like killed some guy, which was great. So Amari, I like your dunking ability. So
Okay, next team. Me and Max can talk about Montana Grizz all night. Northern Colorado. They find themselves in a tough spot. They bring back Ring Neary, who had some good games. He's a good dunker, a good defensive guy, and Yamazaki. He's a junior, so he might come back. These are maybe come back. They lose Block, who's been there for Bloch. Zach Bloch, he's been there forever. Wisney and Denker, I believe, all three. Denker did spend a year down low, so he might get another year. Keep an eye on Quinn Denker. So that's another big one for NoCo. I think he's probably done. He's played a lot of games. I'll look at his profile right now, but that's a big one to keep an eye on. I know Wisney spent all his years there, so he's probably gone, and Block's gone too, I think. Coach Smiley is a guy who keeps popping up in certain coaching searches, but a guy who hasn't made the tournament, right? He always has good years and really good regular seasons. And this one was one of
yeah,
them for the most part. So yeah, Denker was at Cal State Marcos for 2 years out of high school. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, he played 5 years of college, but like played 5 years, so probably not actually. So yeah, they bring back some guys who are pretty talented, no scores, but if there's one thing I'll say, Smiley's a good recruiter. So I'm not too worried about them in that point. But he's a guy to keep an eye on as a guy. I could see leaving the Big Sky, maybe not this year, but in the next couple of years if he's been pretty good at what he does. Any thoughts about the Bears, Max? What are you looking at over there?
I agree with you about Smiley. I do like it's weird. Like he pops up in these like I don't know. It's always like tough because like you see guys in conversations that maybe you don't think they should be in. Like he's a good coach, but it's really the development is where I see him like really jumping up. You feel me? Like he has developed guys, but do you maybe want to see if you're looking for a guy to jump up or you're looking for a coach? Like, do you want to see more of like a little more well-rounded, but I don't know. Like Smiley, it's tough because I think Smiley's had good seasons. He's just underperformed in the playoffs. Um, he has players. He's produced players that have made the leap up and they've played well, and they played well at the level that he's at. Um, I don't know. I don't know about Smiley. I definitely think he'll probably get some looks though. Shocking, maybe out of all these coaches, he's definitely the guy who. I mean, it's probably him and Colburn, but like I Coburn, I still feel like maybe a disappointing Big Sky tournament makes the offers a little bit low. Like the offer's not as lucrative, but I think Smiley has the development thing in the bag, which is it's something I'd consider. But they're in a really tough position because yeah, they're gonna probably need a lot of transfers to come in. They're gonna need if
Yeah.
Smiley sticks around, they're gonna need a huge transfer class. I don't really see their youth necessarily being as effective um, for them. So,
Yeah, they
but
do
that's
have
if he's
a couple. They do have two or three guys. Shield, Solano, and Mywin are three guys who have
yeah.
played in 30 games this year for them. So who aren't going to graduate. So they do have like a solid cast of role players beyond those guys. But you're right, though they don't. I was that, and I don't know their roster as well as the other teams in the conference, but it does seem scoring wise they're going to need someone.
Um, no, I would agree. Yeah, definitely going to need a better scoring option. They're going to need to find. I mean, yeah, I don't. I agree. I think they're going to need to find somebody in the portal who can be that number one. But I do think it's interesting with like I'm not saying he will jump up to like a Utah State, but like Utah State is going to probably poach somebody of a similar like ilk. Like when they were looking, so Jared Calhoun I think came over. Forget where he came over from, but I've heard rumors that Utah State might get Eric Olin from New Mexico, and I do think that a guy like Smiley could be in that search if like Olin leaves from New Mexico or someone in that like that realm kind of leaves to go to Utah State. I do think that Smiley would be in that circle of
Yeah,
coaches
the
because I do think
carousel, like as it starts to go, you see like, oh, Utah State takes someone. Well, then like someone
yeah.
has to fill in New Mexico, and then who's going to fill in for the guy filling in New Mexico? And obviously, some roles are filled by assistants and whatnot. But you're right.
But I do
Calhoun
I
came over
New
from
Mexico.
Youngstown State, by the way.
So that yeah, so like that's the thing is even Utah State like they might even just look down at the Big Sky and they're like, this guy is developed well. Um,
It's
I
gonna,
think Utah State has had a lot of coaches in the past that their development skills really good. Danny Sprinkle, phenomenal example, a guy who can develop talent at an unbelievable rate. Jared Calhoun obviously did it. Why not Smiley? He seems like a guy who can clearly develop talent. Um, and even if he's not your guy, I still feel like it goes back to that point B of they might get a guy similar level in the Mountain West or maybe a similar conference, bring a guy up, and then Smiley's like, oh, that's my opportunity to maybe make a slight jump. And New Mexico is just the name that was I've seen the Eric Olin name circulated as someone who could jump up, not jump up, I guess, but jump over to Utah State. and then Smiley could make that leap. But he'll be an interesting name. I don't know if he should take it or not because I do feel like Northern Colorado. I don't know. It's tough because it feels like every year they maybe have a chance and then they don't. So maybe I feel like if you're Smiley, you maybe at this point are like,
Yeah,
I've done what I can
and
for this
if he can
program.
get guys to go to Greeley, I feel like he can get guys to go a lot of places. Some people
Yeah.
are saying Steve Smiley's an option, too, and also I read an article where people are looking at. Oh, they also said he could come over. He could flip over to Weber State.
No, I mean that would be. They'd have to. I mean, Weaver's have to pay him. They'd have to give him the money. Um, I do think that is a better. I don't know. I do feel like probably the Weber job is better than the Northern Colorado job, even though like they've both had their own kind of varying levels of success just in different aspects of their program. So obviously Weber State's been more successful record wise, I guess, in the past couple, maybe not this year, but like with Dylan Jones in those seasons. But Northern Colorado has had the development prospect, which you look at the Connects and the St. Thomases and all these guys, and they've made leaps and bounds in their development. So yeah, I don't know.
Steve Smiley
It'll
also
be.
like a inside basketball thing to look at. He's got a son who's committed to play for Wyoming. So
I
maybe
don't.
he takes a Mountain West job and wants to coach his son in the mountain because his son clearly, if he's coming to Wyoming, he's like, okay, I'm above the
Yeah.
big sky echelon. Maybe keep an eye on that.
Yeah. So that would be Smiley would only that's the only thing would be yeah, he could coach in the Mountain West. He would probably if he wanted to coach his son, it'd be as an assistant coach because there's no shot they're gonna let. Sundance Wicks is I think pretty firmly stuck as the Wyoming head coach at least for next year, but he's doing some really good stuff there. So I think they'll probably hang on to him. But I do agree. I do think like the Steve Smiley like in the Mountain West realm seems pretty realistic.
Yeah. He's ranked as
It would.
the second player in Colorado by Brett Hoops. Madden Smiley's
Oh,
this kid.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good pickup. That is. I forgot
And
about
they're
that. He
number one.
is.
The number one kid's coming to Colorado State, and number three. Let's see where he's headed. I don't think he's committed yet.
Wait. So the number one is CSU and the number two is Wyoming. The border war. That's actually going to.
Madden Smiley.
That's a pretty cool storyline though. That the number one and number two in Colorado are committed to rival programs is
Yeah,
kind of
that
a
is
neat
pretty
little.
sick.
That's
Yeah.
sweet. So
Yeah. Anyway.
already big storylines, but no, that's a cool. But no, yeah, I agree. I think the Smiley thing is actually super fascinating. I'm really excited to see where that goes, but he's really gonna have to. Um, he's really gonna have to figure out. We're really gonna have to figure out like what the direction is for this team, and I feel like there's just so much anonymity behind what Northern Colorado is set up to do this year, and so that'll definitely be dependent on whether or not he sticks around. But we'll kind of see where I think the Utah State domino is going to be a really interesting one, and we'll see how that falls. And I think that will probably lead to some decisions being made that probably will affect the Big Sky Conference in some way.
Moving on to Eastern Washington. Another interesting one. So Andrew Cook should get another year because he didn't play all this year. He was an all-conference guy heading into last year. Alton Hamilton could come back. He was their second leading scorer. McCourt is another guy who was in their rotation who's been there for 2 years now, but I think he was a little hurt. They lose Powell, Moses, Huey, Anderson, Radford. That's tough. Coach Monson's in a good spot though. I don't think he's going. I would be shocked. He's older. I don't think he's going to go anywhere else.
No.
But a couple things, he showed he's a really good coach. He showed he can recruit some good guys, especially Pacific Northwest, like NAIA guys. Because like what I didn't realize is I texted you like Isaiah Moses was under my guy Ryan Lundgren, their associate head coach. He played for him at the College of Southern Idaho before he
Yeah.
went to UC Riverside. So yeah,
Yeah.
Hamilton, if he comes back, will be huge. Cook's gonna be big, but other than that, they don't bring back a lot of guys and are gonna have to portal up. But they have a pretty
Mhm.
good pitch going right now, I think. Yeah, Stratton Rogers graduates too. Tyler Powell is gone. Yeah, Kolsch. They get a cut. They did play pretty deep. Cole Sure, he's a freshman from Colorado. He could come back if he wants. Elijah Thomas, yeah, I think he might be done too. And they
Yeah.
do have a couple guys who play at the lower level, so you never know. There could always be Moses being one of them. And
Yeah.
same with JoJo Anderson. Those guys could maybe get that fifth year, but they celebrated most of them on senior day. So I don't know how we feel. The Eags, Hamilton is
I
pretty
like.
good, so I like him.
Yeah. No, I think Dan Monson's a phenomenal coach. Definitely was a candidate. A lot of people thought he probably. There were a lot of people who on Twitter when we were doing our picks thought that Monson or Logie maybe deserved the Coach of the Year nod over Colburn. Uh, I think one thing first off, even though you and I both picked Colburn, and I still stick by Colburn, um, the one thing is I don't think people who are claiming that Monster Logie should have won it are in any way wrong. I think that was a pretty close Coach of the Year race, frankly, just because of how many teams really had so much success despite adversity. And Portland State was just the team that had the best team and they were the most successful. So obviously that was kind of a like a shoe-in pick, honestly. However, Monson, I think, had the second best coaching job in terms of if I'm looking at it from my picks, Monson had the second best coaching job, and I don't think he is going to fall off a cliff with the amount of graduations that have come with this team. So Cook coming back if he sticks around, I presume he would. I'd hope to see him do that. Seems like a guy who will stick around, and then obviously, yeah, you've got Lundgren who's there too, which helps. And then Hamilton, I like Alden Hamilton a lot too. If he sticks
Yeah,
around, that'll be
he's fun.
great. That would be a great. That would be a great. Those two guys sticking around would be great. Monson clearly knows how to bring guys in, so um, it will be dependent on who he brings in, I think. But Monson's, I'm not worried about Eastern Washington. I think they'll be fun to watch. I bet they'll be a top five preseason pick, depending on where they kind of fall in the transfer portal. But um, yeah, I think they'll be good. I like Monson. I stand by Monson, and if he has another good year next year, he might actually get that Big Sky Coach of the Year award.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think people, no one who cares enough probably listen to this right now, but people really thought our picks were who we really thought and liked for those rather than we, at least I was picking more who I thought the Big Sky was gonna pick, if that makes sense. Like, I would agree, like, I wanted Monson to be the coach of the year for sure more than Coburn. And I thought he was a better coach if that, like, during the year, right? Coburn, like, ran out of steam. And we saw that. But he had a really good
Mhm.
roster and did a good recruiting. And he should have been, like, preseason coach of the year if that was a thing, right? Like, off-season
Mhm.
coach of the year, 100% should have been Coburn. Um,
Yeah.
and Logie, too. Like, he did a hell of a job. And like I picked my MVP Money Williams because I thought that's who they would maybe pick. Terry Miller wasn't a bad one, but there's a couple other ones I picked that as like Prophet Johnson. I guess I picked him for my first team, but they didn't add him to the first team, and I don't know, that's how it goes. But anyway, yeah, I thought they did a good job. Will be interesting to bring in. Name to keep an eye on: Isaiah Crane, Carroll College, Frontier MVP, played for Ryan Lundgren at Carroll College.
Yeah.
Already has an offer from Idaho State. Wouldn't be shocked if he ends up in June. Um, yeah, and yeah, I mean, they're a team who I'm always excited to see who they bring in. Same with like the Cats and the Grizz, just because I watch them a lot more than the other teams. And because they're in the area, every team I'm excited to bring in, but like NAU is gonna bring in different transfers, right? And I like it when it's Pacific Northwest guys too. Okay. Montana State.
Mm,
They are going to find themselves in an interesting spot. We've talked about Coach Logie a little bit already.
yeah.
They bring back Jeremiah Davis, who is pretty good for them, especially down the stretch when they needed him.
Yeah.
They also bring back Christian King. He's younger, a guy off the bench who, if he sticks around, will definitely be a starter for them. Seth
Mm,
Almenroon feels like he'll probably stay. He's from the Bozeman area. He comes back. He played well at the end of the year. And their
mhm,
center Step, who stepped up a lot towards the end of the year, played 32 games.
yeah.
He also has eligibility, but they do lose Brown, Taven Brown, Patrick Mann, Jed Miller, and Chris Hodges.
Yeah.
And that covers pretty much everyone in their main lead scorers. Howie Keene played in 25 games that he could come back to.
Yeah.
Coach Logie is in if he keeps coaching well, might not be in the Big Sky for very much longer zone, as we just talked about.
Yeah.
But interesting place for the Cats because their third leading scorer would be King, who's talented but not like your guy. So they enter a maybe we bring in a guy this year place. Because they didn't really have one.
Yeah.
I mean, Jed Miller was really, really good, but entering the year, he wasn't the guy. And it worked. He became the guy, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, he really carved out a role for himself, and obviously was definitely deserving of the Big Sky, his all conference selection, and um, he was a 4 year Bobcat too, which is like I think something we don't maybe we kind of forget is Montana State. Montana State always has like one dude who sticks around and kind of carves out a good role for him because it was I mean, it's him now. It was Patterson prior to him, and like there are always these guys. There's always like one dude who always kind of is a long term Bobcat, which I honestly think is not just a credit to Logie, but a credit to the coaches, the Sprinkle and guys in the past who've managed to find guys like that. Jabril Bello, he was like a was he a Bobcat lifer? Or did he
I think he
transfer?
was too, yeah.
So like, but like again, like Jabril Bello is another guy who was like a Bobcat lifer. I'm pretty sure. And like they always find like I said, they always find like one dude who who sticks around and um kind of makes his name. I don't want to misinform anybody. I do want to make
I
sure
think you're
Jabril
right.
Bello
Pat
was.
McMahon, ooh, he might have also been that way.
Um
He, yeah,
no,
Pat,
I guess Jabril Bello transferred up from Lamar Community College, but to be fair, the only D1 program that I think he played for was yeah, I
yeah.
think the only D1 program he played for was um, Montana State. So I mean, like basically a Bobcat lifer. He played like he played like I'm pretty sure he played like 4 years for the Bobcats and then 2 years of community college. So
Pat McMahon's
yeah,
also one who played all 4 years at Montana. Technically
so but
5
yeah,
years at Montana State, so.
yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah. So like I think they Montana State honestly is like the unique program to me where they always have one dude who sticks around for a while. Even if it's a guy, even like the Jabril Bello, yeah, he played like 2 years at community college, but he basically played a full D1 career at Montana State, like a full 4 years there. So, um, yeah, I think Logie maybe isn't gonna make the jump this year, but definitely, I mean, Montana State after Sprinkle, it's now like well, we've talked about, I've mentioned this, Montana State, out of every single program in the Big Sky across all sports, Montana State has the best coaching talent recruiting. And I don't even think I don't even think they're that close, actually. I think it's a pretty far gap with their football, their basketball, both men's and women's, Binford and Logie and Vegan. Um, I mean, you can look at a lot of their sports, but like, I mean, they are elite at bringing in top coaching talent. So Logie is obviously no exception to that. So it'll be he'll probably, like I said, he probably won't jump this year. I'd be pretty surprised, but they'll have to. I think they'll have a freshman that'll probably, or for like maybe a sophomore. Or I guess I'd have to look at their roster. I'd want to see like I want to honestly see like what their roster is right now. See what some of these. Oh my gosh, football! I don't care about the football team or basketball podcast. Let's get that out of here. So, but like they're but no, like I mean, yeah, I do agree. Like maybe Howie Keene, but I don't know. I mean, Howie Keene, I mean, he's a freshman. You do like, I do like the idea of him maybe making a jump. Christian King, I mean, he is they're they have a lot. They do have some talent down the board that I do like, and I do think there are some younger guys here who will probably um if they keep Waka Mbach, like that'd be a big keep for them too. So I don't know. I mean, they're not in a precarious spot. I think they'll definitely be like a top 5 preseason team as well. If they keep a couple of these guys, which I think they will. Christian King, I think, could easily be their top scorer next year if he sticks around. So I do like Jeremiah Davis a lot too, but I think Christian King showed a lot of scoring prowess, something that I like. I mean, ever it felt like his big games, he was scoring like almost 30. So I don't know. I think
Yeah,
Logie's not going to leave this year, but I do
we'll
think
see.
they have the form.
Logie's
The like,
I found a tweet that shows Logie's shown some pretty good like Ken Palm like net ranking progressions from his first year and how far he's
yeah,
moved up and ended this year at like 132, which is pretty good. Um, uh, and they were really banged up this year, which is too bad. But Idaho did beat them, which is tough. They ran into every team in the conference. And they ran into a red hot Idaho team, and Matt Logie did get that technical in their game that really did hurt them. Forgot about that.
I
Um,
forgot about. Yeah, that's fair.
but yeah, it'll be interesting, and obviously we're looped into Montana media, so we'll see who they bring in, and if their guys transfer, keep an eye on it.
Mhm.
Finally, Portland State to wrap this thing up. They maybe bring back Kelsey Phillips, who played for them. They definitely
Mhm.
lose Keon Kenseth Jr. Trayvon Minot has to be done. They need to take him away. Jalen
Yep.
Henderson, I don't think played lower than D1, so I think he's done too. Terry Miller
Yeah.
Jr., I think has another year. But, and I know that because I saw a account recruiting guys for University of Washington men's basketball transfer targets, and he's one of them.
Mhm.
So, if he does have another year, Terry Miller Jr., I think he's probably gone. I mean, he's the biggest guy MVP. Those guys don't stay around much. Maybe he will.
I
Coach got
want to
his
look
guys
back.
back. Yeah. And then
I
Keanu Webb
want to
transferred mid-season, and then Bryson Long, I think, graduates too. Um,
Oh, he also was a contributor for them.
yeah. So Jace Coburn he's on my, like, maybe leave while you can. Like, if a job opens up and you're Jace Coburn, I might leave. Maybe.
Yeah, no,
He built something
I think
really good there. I just think he had his shot and they were really good this year and they made some real history. And he's about to lose all those guys that are part of that, which is pretty normal in college basketball. And I guess he has shown an ability to recruit. But if I was him, I'd maybe
Mhm.
try to go to a league where you could recruit a little better. Like, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so Terry Miller,
Yeah,
points wise, let's see. They're going to lose their top four scorers. And then Kelsey Phillips is sophomore, so he could come back. He was pretty good for them, actually. He could be good. And
yeah,
Sebastian Tidor, he's a junior. He could come back. Alex Dupree, he's a freshman. He could come back too. I remember watching him play. He's got a crazy photo. He's got a chain on his photo.
yeah.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of guys who are younger who could come back, and you never know how guys will progress, and some of those guys could be really good. We'll see if Coburn keeps them or if they stay. And Terry Miller Jr. is going to end up on that. He's going to be next year a guy we follow and watch and see how he does wherever he ends up.
Yeah.
If he
if he sticks
does,
around, but I don't know.
I don't know if he does.
I was looking back at some of the past Big Sky MVPs to see how many have transferred up, and honestly, it's not because it was Darling obviously transferred. Dylan Jones didn't. Dylan Jones stuck around. Venters transferred. Jabril Bellows stuck around. Tanner Groves, he didn't.
He transferred.
He transferred up. Where did he transfer to again?
Yeah.
Right, he did. He was Oklahoma. And then before that, it was Mason Peatling who won, which is like, again, can I just say that Eastern Washington
they always had MVP
from 2019, 2020 to 2022, 2023. They had 3 of the 4 Big Sky MVPs, and all 3 of the guys, they're all 3 guys that they have are different dudes too. So like, but like. Yeah, and also but Peeling didn't he stuck around with the Big Sky, but he ended up going because he's from Australia. He was an Australian, so he ended up going over to the NBL. But like that's really, I mean, a lot of those guys do transfer. Dylan Jones and Bello, I think was a interesting one because he really peaked. His senior year was when he had his like best season, so it's like obviously you can't really transfer up after that. And then Dylan Jones, pretty much an anomaly. I don't know. He knew his value, which was I'm going to be the best guy on a team that competes to be the best in the conference, and he was an NBA draft pick, so doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care if he was a second rounder. He knew he knew exactly what his value was, and he made the money he knew he could. So honestly, I respect Dylan Jones a lot for that. But that's like the thing. It's like Dylan Jones, who was an NBA draft pick and knew what money he had, and then Jabril Bello, who couldn't transfer because he was a senior. And then the rest of these guys basically left. Peatling, like a lot of the Aussies in the Big Sky, end up just going to the NBL and playing in Australia again, because why wouldn't you? That's money in the bank, and you're going back home, so you might as well do that. But yeah, I'd be interested to see where he goes. I don't think, if he does have eligibility, if it seems like he does, at least like context clues.
Well, I looked into that. I saw it was one account saying that, and they like have 168 followers, and there's like a fan club. So I don't know.
I have my doubts. Then I have a lot of doubts.
He's played 5 years of college basketball, but 2 were in California at the College of Sequoias.
I mean, he might. Regardless, I don't think he's staying at Portland State. I'd be pretty shocked if he stuck around.
Yeah, he's from California too. Yeah.
I mean, Terry Miller is like athletically, size-wise, like he checks so many boxes. If you're a Mountain West team in California, you have to be looking at him. If you're a Big West team, which I mean, the Big West is still a lucrative conference. We've seen that they have like
West Coast,
but there are some schools in the Big West. Like if you were like UC Irvine, which is like almost a perennial NCAA tournament team, like that would be, in my opinion, not a completely lateral move from the Big Sky to UC Irvine. UC Irvine, a competitive team that always competes in the Big West and almost always makes the NCAA tournament. If you're Terry Miller Jr., why would you not want to consider that? But in the same breath, like you do have your Fresno State, your San Jose State, you have your San Diego State. If they're knocking at your door, you answer. And obviously, yes, there's Stanford and Cal and stuff. I don't know if those are offers he'll be getting, but if he gets an offer from Cal or Stanford, I mean, that's also a no-brainer too. Portland State's a pretty decent academic school, right? I mean, I feel like he's probably got to have the grades for that, for Stanford, Cal. I guess, where is he from in California? I'm saying these Bay Area schools, like
Fresno.
He might be from. Oh, he's from Fresno. So then, yeah, if you're Fresno State, if you are Fresno State, you are calling this guy immediately. You're like, bring him back home. I don't know much about Fresno. I don't know how lovely of a place to live. Maybe he left for a reason. But if I'm the Bulldogs, I'd be like, call this guy. This guy's top of he is from the backyard and he played amazing this year. Let's get him in. I don't know how well Fresno State did this year in the Big Mountain West, but I can't imagine it was that great. Watches there, they might actually be decent. I don't know. The Mountain West is always so interesting. They were terrible. They were third worst. They were actually Fresno State. Get Terry Miller Jr. on your roster right now. You guys sucked. You were the only teams you were better than were San Jose State, who were terrible at men's basketball every year, and Air Force, which Air Force didn't win a single conference game last year. So pretty hard to be worse than that. You were worse than Wyoming, who was okay this year. They made the NIT, so good for them. And then, yeah, like you have an opportunity to move up, especially, well, I guess they're going to be in the Pac-12 next year, so it doesn't even matter. But when they're in the Pac-12 next year, bring Terry Miller Jr. over. Anyways, that's my rant about that. Fresno State, you guys were terrible in basketball this year, so how about you get a quality transfer like the Big Sky MVP that actually might be worth your time. I don't know.
Yeah, the close things that I'm kind of looking at the all first conference teams this year, seeing how many guys might come back. MVP Terry Miller, either out of eligibility, I feel like going to transfer. Danker's gone. Jed Miller gone. Isaiah Moses probably gone. Money Williams could come back. Miller maybe could come back. Henderson, I don't think can come back. Insane. So we could bring back 3 guys, but I would say most likely maybe only one comes back between Sane and Williams. Second team, Sac State's leaving. Prophet Johnson's probably going to transfer too. Alton Hamilton could come back. That's it. Colton Mitchell could come back. Christian King could come back. Vartianen could come back. Defensive team, Houghton's not coming back. Is Davis the one who could come back or no? Hold on. Yeah, he could come back. So there's like around 6 or 7 guys who could return this year who are all conference performers, which is exciting, but I guess we'll have to see.
You know what we need to look at? We need to look at the transfer portal players that we think would come to the Big Sky.
Yeah, I was going to say, I already said Isaiah Crane seems like a guy who...
Isaiah Crane seems like a good dude. I wanted to see if I could find some transfer downs, but it's always... There's... Florida Gulf Coast freshman Jordan Ellerby. 6'2" guard, former Gatorade Pennsylvania Player of the Year.
Why would he come anywhere near here?
Because he's a small guard, and they like small guards here. Bring him over. 13.1 points per game.
I was thinking maybe guys that had ties.
Does our boy Brandon Dwyer have? Get him over here.
He liked Dwyer Instagram when I said it would, but there's no way they're going to let him play again.
No, unfortunately not. As much as we would love that, and as much as we would love to have him as a guest on this podcast, a dream guest on this podcast. I mean, it's like he couldn't be a dream guest on this podcast, but it'd be...
Maybe you should host the podcast with us. It could be an A-Sun Big Sky Con podcast.
We would just become at that point, we'd just become like a mid-major, because I feel like that's just general mid-major.
Then we could only focus on the 2.
Okay. We got a Washington State wing, Reeve Avers. Oh no, he hasn't decided to enter the transfer portal. Okay. Never mind.
I got a couple, because there's this one account I followed. I was always looking into guys when guys are getting offers. Jordan Clark from Central Washington averaged 17 points per game. He's offered by Montana State, Portland State, and Eastern Washington, along with some other teams.
Okay.
Keep an eye out for him. And that's a perfect guy, Who else do we got? Let's see. Oh, Caden
I was,
Hansen, who is a transfer. He's the GNAC Player of the Year for St. Martin. He's got offered to
oh,
pretty most of the Big Sky schools.
I like the sound of
He's
that.
from
That
Washington. Yeah, he's got a Portland State, Montana offers.
those are
Ooh,
see those.
yeah,
Yeah, I like the.
that's my kind of guy.
There's
Luke
some.
Howard, a 6'9" Division II player, has heard from. He's got offer from Montana State.
Okay, I want to.
Simon, oh
Yeah,
here we go. Simon Fraser Guard, Luke Howard, Division II in Canada. He's heard from Montana State too.
that's what I like to. Wait, where are you finding these?
These are just random. That one was on the portal report, but
Oh, okay.
and sometimes you can find
Um,
guys who the Big Sky
I was.
offers.
I'm on 24/7 Sports. I feel like some of these guys are a little too good though.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna
Oh,
find too many.
they're. Oh, what's this guy? This guy's an Albany dude. 5'11". Get him. Bring him over. 5'11".
Any connection to the modern West at all, or no?
No, he played for Albany.
So,
He's from Weston, Mass, so
wow,
probably
that's
not.
that's
Uh,
crazy.
I, there's some. I was trying to see if there were some guys. The tough thing too is there's um a lot of guys who are not from the West. Ooh, what's this guy? Emily Yahoo,
There's a
six
lot of
eight,
guys in the portal.
6'8" guy from. Oh, he got. I feel like he might be. Uh, I don't know. This guy might want to transfer down. 6'8", 6'8" small forward for Washington State. Emily Yahoo. Probably too good. He's probably gonna make more of a lateral move, but you
The
never know.
Montana Grizzlies have offered an Australian-born guard who has offers from Cal Baptist, Bryant, and Chattanooga. So you never know.
I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. Oh, this guy's a North Dakota. This guy's a North Dakota guy. How well did he play this year? Did he even play? Oh, this guy. Get this guy. This 6'10", 240. He's the country of Georgia. George Natchesvili. Get him in the Big Sky Conference.
Wow. Oh, the mid-major major
Natchezvili.
transfer. Oh, we have the mid-major transfer model, which projects which players will be the most successful at the Division I level. Let's see if they did it right. They ranked Bennett
Mid-major.
Sturts as the highest, most likely one. Yeah, Axel Lendenberg was third. I guess they were kind of right. Where the hell is my guy Dylan Darling on here? This is from a year ago. Oh, 20th.
Huh?
It's
There you
fair.
go.
They got anyone I've heard of lower? Not really. Not really. Bryce Lindsey's pretty low. He did pretty good. Or did he? Or am I thinking of someone else? Yeah, I don't know. We're
Yeah.
working on it. Hoops. They seem to like mid-major guys. They got some good guys.
I wanted to see if I could find anybody.
And they're all like real
Any.
guys, I don't think. Oh, a really good NAI player. Okay. Well,
Oh,
anyway, we could talk about this another time. I'm sure anyone still listening is ready to be done. Listen to us, Max. But
yeah.
yeah, it was great recording with you. If anyone is still listening, shout out. We'll be back next year for Big Sky basketball season, probably same time tournament season. Because maybe we do a Big Sky football pod this year, Max.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Big Sky softball started, so
Yeah, we'll
we
keep
got.
an eye. I'll keep an. I'll maybe retweet who wins it.
Yeah. We'll. Yeah. But we'll be here. We'll be social
Follow our
mediating and
Twitters. We'll
tweeting.
be retweeting Big Sky News all the time. I do.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in for year one. Only going up from here. And streaming. Oh,
Woo shock.
okay. Edit.